And then tonight,
It is being
I'm Baba
recorded.
I'm filling in for Baba Mosi tonight, and I'm Baba Senghor. I'm an active member of Division 330, but I'm also the First Assistant President General of the Government of UNIA-ACL Rehabilitating Committee 2020. We're happy to have y'all here. Brother Congo is with us as well, the Vice President of Division 330. But we got a really, really dynamic program rolling tonight, as we do almost every night. But I want to make sure that we don't take a lot of time, but I want to open up, as Baba Mosi always opens up, so people have an idea who we are. The Universal Negro Improvement Association of African Communities League is a social, friendly, humanitarian, charitable, educational, institutional, constructive, and expansive society, and is founded by persons designed to the utmost to work for the general uplift of the African Negro peoples of the world. And the members pledge themselves to do all in their power to conserve the rights of their noble race and to respect the rights of all women and mankind, believing always in the sisterhood, brotherhood of woman and man, and the motherhood and fatherhood of the Most High God. The motto of the organization is one God, one aim, one destiny. Therefore, let justice be done to all women and mankind, realizing that if the strong oppresses the weak, confusion and discontent will ever mark the path of woman and man, but with love, faith, and charity towards all, the reign of peace and plenty will be hurled into the world, and the generations of men and women shall be called blessed. Now, brothers and sisters, I must also let all the RBG folks that are tuned in, the red, black, and green, the watermelon eating folks, African people, I must do the pledge, and then we're going to get going. This is the official pledge of the UNIA-ACL RC2020. The UNIA's official pledge since back in the days of the Right Excellent Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I commit my body, mind, and spirit to the protection, defense, and security of the red, black, and green. I dedicate my life to the redemption of Mother Africa and the liberation of her scattered Black children. I accept for myself and my descendants the teachings of universal African nationalism, and I promise that our children will be instilled with the purpose and knowledge of themselves as African people, in order that the cause of our struggle will neither falter nor fail until all Black people are free and united through one God, one aim, and one destiny. And brothers and sisters, that's timely because as we spoke about the children, the children are our present, they are our past and our future, because we are all children of the Most High. But tonight, we're talking about, when did we stop raising our children? And brothers and sisters, all y'all listening know that many children have had children. Young people who have not even come into consciousness themselves have had children. But the problem that we are faced with is critical, because too many of our children are crying and dying around the world. Too many of them are being miseducated, misdirected, mistreated, abused, and even taken hostage and taken all around the world. Our ancestors are waiting and watching, and we need to really reflect upon our ancestors. Well, tonight we have a special, he's not a guest, he's like a family, he's family. Brother Rasayon is definitely a professor for the African race, regardless to wherever else he's a professor with the UNIA. We love him. We love him dearly. And I want to welcome everybody that's on Facebook and let you all know you can put your comments in the chat on Facebook, or you can, if you're in the Zoom, you can put your comments in the Zoom. And we're going to get started. I'm going to introduce my brother right now and let him let you know how you can call him, because he has many names, but certainly he is definitely a blessing to the race and brings information. Now, he will explain to us how we're going to navigate through tonight. So without any further ado, my brother, when did we stop raising our children?
Hotep, Bob, I'm absolutely honored that you guys allowed me to come in and share my perspective with you, because my perspective is literally only called my perspective because the permission of our ancestors and you all allowing me to speak through this particular forum to share these perspectives that my person is about to share with you. And so before I continue to talk, I ask all of the members of the family and the community over the age of 65 for permission to continue to speak. And I also ask, do you see my screen? When do we stop raising our children?
You may speak, my brother, and I certainly see your screen.
Speak, brother.
Okay, well, I'm honored. I remember when the Bible was talking to me about what could we call this, we were looking at the impact of violence on our children. And I specifically chose this particular graphic, this slide, to highlight what our reality is. And our reality is other than our children are so immersed in violence, our children are trying to navigate a world that's wedded to so much pathology that they don't know where to turn. And you may not recall, but it was at least a generation ago, 30 plus years, National Geographic had done a special on the adolescent elephants just running all over the place in continental Africa, killing the rhino, attacking all other kinds of animals because they had killed the bull elephants. They had taken their tusk, meaning that the elephants that would give the young adolescents direction and guidance were no longer there. And as I submit to you with humility, the reality of what we are engaging in now, trying to navigate, is our children are unable to raise themselves, and they are doing the best they can. And in light of the best that they can do, the resources that we have made available to them are less than adequate. And in a couple of moments, I'm going to expand on that. And more importantly, invite any of you to fine tune any comments or perspectives that you like to share to help us understand this reality. And so as you take a look at this child, I'll just summarize for you, peekaboo, who my person is. I'm a behavioral neuroscientist by training. I was educated at all HBCUs. That includes Fisk University, Meharry Medical College, North Carolina A&T, and of course, my alma mater, which I'm oftentimes trying to push up hard on them to get them to be more accountable, HU Howard University. Why did I share that with you? It's because I grew up in an era when the vanilla brothers and sisters in mainstream America were wedded to quota systems. And those quota systems literally translated into, we have to get some more melanin dominant people into our schools to kind of quiet the chaos that's going on in the world that's directly related to the system of racism and white supremacy. And I decided I did not want to be part of anybody's quota. I didn't want anyone to ever say to me that you went to Brown or you went to Cornell or you went to some Ivy League vanilla brothers and sisters school because they were taking a quota. So I chose to go to school where I knew I would be in the presence of people that would challenge me to grow, that had a mission to serve, and allegiance to trying to get a better understanding, a better overstanding of our sense of identity, which brings me to us specifically talking about when did we stop raising our children? You can look at the expression on this child's face, and the expression on this child's face is, I'm holding my younger sibling here. But like, what are you going to do? I'm on the bare earth. I have no shoes. My sibling does not have a bottom. And I'm here. What are you going to do? And so let's just move forward with this to try to make sense out of it. I submit to you that one of the challenges that has enslaved us and continues to enslave us is our inability to understand the difference between spirituality and religion. And in a couple of moments, I'm going to touch on and expand on religion, but I want you to understand that religion has transferred us from a sense of spiritual awakening to an allegiance to a set of beliefs that further adds to our confusion, our dissension, and our lack of focus. And that's why you see this slide is highlighting for you before, hereafter, and way after. And as you can see, hereafter we have confusion. It's no accident that I have these sheep here embedded or flanking the people that are zombies on your left, and the people that are on your right, quite frankly, are not that dramatically dissimilar from zombies. Why am I sharing that with you? Because the people are not thinking anymore. The people have aligned themselves with people that do not suggest that thinking is important to our sense of identity. And if you know anything about classic Hollywood movies and zombies, zombies were basically the walking dead. They were looking for a brain and a sense of purpose. And if you look to the right, You see these same people here. I don't need to tell you about the gospel of prosperity of these mega churches that have ATM machines in their lobbies and outside telling people they want folding money. If they don't have money, go to the ATM machine. And so when we come back to reflect on, when did we stop raising our children? When did we stop raising our children? And I submit to you, we stopped raising our children when we allow mainstream America to replace and rewire how they think. And the way they think should be wedded to an allegiance to our ancestors and a relationship with the cosmos and understanding the relationship with our ancestors and a clear understanding of the significance that they are you melanin dominant people, rather than the misnomer of saying that you are Black people. You are the original people that occupied this speck of dust that we call Earth. There would be no Earth if there was not melanin dominant people. As a matter of fact, people wouldn't even be able to navigate Earth if they did not have eumelanin and neuromelanin inside of their bodies. So I want you to be very clear about what I'm trying to anchor for you, because when we talk about when we stop raising our children, we have to acknowledge the fact that we began to stop raising our children when we began to lose our sense of identity. And our sense of identity, as I shared with you before, if you look carefully, you see this minister, he has a biblios in his hand. And biblios is basically Greek. It basically means papyri stacked on top of each other. Biblios means book. We've been so socialized that we assume that book, i.e. from biblios, is the book of life. And the reality is this book is basically a tool to keep us enslaved and not understanding our spirituality. There were some ministers that I knew a long time ago, and they would say, whenever you got people together to have a conversation, they would say 2 or more, you were having church. And when you got 2 or more people together and you sang a little bit, you would be making a joyful noise. And whenever you exchange knowledge and information, you would be growing. But we have been led to believe that churches like this and churches that are incredibly large, with ministers parading around telling you about the gospel of prosperity, that they are misdirecting you to become sheep in their flock. Tithe your resources. Now, let me be very clear about tithing your resources. If you visit mega churches or large churches, and if you find greasy spots in the parking lot where people are not taking care of their cars because they're leaking oil and they need to be better kept, and the minister has 3 or 4 parking spaces and wearing designer suits, then you are not in a place that's designed to nurture your soul and give you direction and guidance. That's why I have little Wayne over here over this church that's made of money. And I have my man Money Mayweather down the bottom here making money. But it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with these people making money. What it means is these people are not running around trying to tell you that they are going to give you a passport to paradise if you tithe in their church. They are selling a particular talent, a particular skill set that I'm going to speak to momentarily that translates into when did we stop raising our children? I submit to you that this word, abracadabra, means I speak, I make it manifest. You can see Sankofa here, and you can see these marionette puppets, and you can see this personification of Draculus, the vampire. The bloodsucker of the planet Earth is not someone that you see in Hollywood with canines long enough hanging from his lips as fangs in his mouth. You're talking about men that wear 3-piece suits that make decisions about where your tax dollars go, that make decisions about how you're going to educate your children, that make decisions about how you're going to feed your children, that make decisions about how much of your attention will be taken from your children and social media and a variety of platforms. So the story comes back again. When did we stop raising our children? I submit to you, we no longer tell our kids our stories. We allow them to stumble across versions, misrepresentations of our stories online. And what happens online is that classic mantra that you hear over and over again about misdirection. And that mantra in a nutshell literally becomes something that we call going viral. And anytime something that's gone viral, you've been infected. And when you've been infected, you are no longer thinking for yourself. And when you're not thinking for yourself, your software that you're running is already a set of design algorithms guiding you into a particular path of non-thinking that you erroneously refer to as thinking because you're doing what everyone else does. And what everyone else does is they are widening the web of confusion, and the web of confusion is designed to metastasize your thinking into not thinking. Hence, you see these people reciting the mantra around this person's brain here in cyberspace. If you get a group of people together and they were to call your name over and over again and change the cadence and the rhythm of how they call your name, and if they encircle you, pretty soon you will begin to wonder, like, why have these people encircled me and why they're calling my name? And in time, if they begin to weave certain thematic content into your name, like saying, let's say your name is Abdullah. And if they were to say, Abdullah, brother Abdullah, we are here to feed you. We are here to feed you. And if they start giving you, for lack of a better term, white flour, white sugar, white milk, the white man's food, white rice, you're going to lose your sense of identity. And more importantly, you're going to lose your sense of health. And as you lose your sense of health, you are no longer thinking, you are running software that's designed to make you self-destruct. As I mentioned before, the word religion. The word religion actually comes from the word religar, which means to bind. That's why I'm making a big deal about spirituality versus religion. You will hear the average person say to you, and the above average person say to you, so how you doing, my brother? How you doing, my sister? And you will get this kind of generic response. I'm just taking one day at a time. And you say, what do you mean, my brother, my sister? Why are you just taking one day at a time? And summarily, oftentimes you will get this response. We're brothers in God's hands. And that in itself is erroneous because it's not in God's hands. It's in the God goddess's hand, because God is neither male nor female. God is a combination of energy that relates to receptive energy and electric energy, which is always magnetic and always electric, which means it is always a marriage of energy that recognize the energy of femininity and masculinity as the foundation for creation. But that's not what we're told to believe. We're told to believe it's in God's hands. And then you back up and say again, you know, if the Lord wills, so will it be. Rather than you realizing that the Great Spirit works through you. So when you look at spirituality and superimpose clarity of overstanding spirituality, you will understand that you are a manifestation of spiritual energy navigating the physical realm of physicality through that body that you've been charged to babysit. You are literally there to babysit that body and give that body a sense of focus. But if you don't have a sense of identity and a level of spiritual allegiance, then you don't even realize that the word baby or baby means that the spirit has manifest and the spirit is working through your vessel. And as a result of that, how are you going to raise your children if every time you come to the conclusion that they need something, you say, well, you know, I'm doing the best I can. It's in God's hands. So the Lord is testing me. And that's the kind of language we use. The Lord is testing me. I guarantee you, very few people are going to go to their refrigerator and just see that light in the refrigerator and nothing else there, and then go and sit down and cross their legs and meditate. They are going to inquire, what am I going to eat? What am I going to feed my children? How am I going to navigate this plane? Am I supposed to just sit back and pray? And praying, utilizing the language that does not even include acknowledging my ancestors? So I remind you, when did we stop raising our children? I submit to you that when we lost our connection with the earth, and I'm not going to go into details about this, but I will summarize it for you this way. Your brain and your heart has the ability to reverberate a resonance and a rhythm that is actually in harmony with the rhythm of the planet Earth. And that rhythm of the planet Earth is called Schumann resonance. And that Schumann resonance has to do with your ability to stay tuned in to your rhythm. And that rhythm has to do with where you are. And where you are is mediated by the foods in your environment, the music in your environment, and the company that you keep. But check this out. You've lost that rhythm. Because if you were to look up into the sky tonight, you might just see darkness. But if you were to look up into the sky in big sky country, you may see a lot of light and you see stars. But if you were to sit down and reflect on what's up in the sky and turn on your cell phone, your GPS will chime in and probably tell you where you are, which means that you no longer know where you are because you've lost your connection with nature. And you have begun to rely on technology to tell you where you are in the universe, completely ignoring the fact that where you are in the universe is directly related to what kinds of foods you put in your body, what kind of music you surround your body with, what kind of company you keep, what kind of language you use to recognize extensions of your body who happen to represent those extensions of yourself that you call your collective family. It doesn't matter if it's in continental Africa. It doesn't matter if it's in Beijing. It doesn't matter where it is on the planet. What does matter is you recognize that you are an extension of your ancestors. And when you've forgotten your ancestors, you cannot call on your ancestors because you no longer know their names. And this is a summary of what I just told you about your rhythm. Your heart can talk. Your brain can talk without saying a word. We refer to all of that as vibing. And then we move to the next level and say, are you feeling me? There is not a melanin dominant parent on the planet that cannot communicate to their children before they reach puberty a message without saying a word by simply just giving them a look or a vibe. But when they get out and get caught up in the technology and being led by the blind and being led by technology, you lose that resonance. And when you lose that resonance, they can no longer feel you. And when they can no longer feel you, you default to ignorance and say stuff like, I don't even recognize that child. And then when you start losing the ability to recognize your children, you become consumed with fear. And fear is basically a signature of ignorance. And the ignorance is you no longer know how to communicate with them, and you are afraid to learn how to communicate with them. And as a result, when you see two or more of them together, oftentimes you won't even speak. You just move away from them. And when they recognize that you're moving away from them, they recognize that you don't want to be around them and affiliated with them. And you being an adult, they're looking at you like you're an adult. You should know better. But you consume with your ignorance and lack of perspective that you project your fear onto them. And anytime anything is frightened, it'll do two things. It'll either move away from you, perceive you as a threat, and then explore how to counter that threat. And in efforts to counter that threat, you wind up with chaos. And when you wind up with chaos, you wind up with confusion. And when you wind up with confusion, you wind up putting people in harm's way. This is another example. A lot of people, I had some students talking to me about that Barbie movie. And they talked about how they had modified all these things about the Barbie movie. Now, if you were to interview any woman of color, any male of color over 55, they will tell you, even though this is the holiday season when people are dancing through Hanukkah, getting ready to set their minds up to understand Kwanzaa, and then preparing for Christmas on the after ride of the indigenous peoples ceremony that people refer to as Thanksgiving, they have lost a sense of identity because we have allowed mainstream America to tell us what we should do, how we should engage our children. And that's why I have this graphic in front of you. This child that you see on the right, she's struggling with a variety of issues. But if you could just look inside of her head, you could see all the confusion that's undulating around her head. And as you look at these things that are undulating around her head, then you have no choice but to conclude she's been socialized to be disconnected from who she is. And to the degree that she's been socialized to be disconnected from who she is, then she's not even able to fathom what's going on inside of her head. And when she cannot fathom what's going on inside of her head, listen very carefully to what I'm about to share with you.
where this young lady has her fingers on her forehead. In humans, this is the last part of the brain to develop. It doesn't even begin to mature until you're on the other side of age 25, and it doesn't begin to mature to a level of peak maturity until you're about 31 years of age. It's the last part of your brain to actually develop. And it's the part of the brain that people spend their most time taking their hands, caressing their temporal lobes, the side of their head. When you see them confused, and they will rock back and forth, and they'll say things to you like, I'm just trying to find myself. And the reason why they say things like they're trying to find themselves, because we've superimposed so much ignorance on their sense of identity that they don't have a clue who they are. And then they look to social networks to find out who they are. So I say to you again, when do we stop raising our children? I say we stop raising our children when we stop telling our children stories. We stop telling our children stories about what we went through. And then we rationalize and say, well, they don't want to hear what we went through. But when do you talk to them? When do you have a conversation with them? Rather than telling them what you want them to do and what they should not be doing, when do you sit down and say, hey, baby, what's the last story that you read that really touched you? All right, what you think about that story? Do you know any stories about your grandparents? Do you know that you can play the piano just like your grandmother? Do you know you kind of walk like your grandmother walked when she was a little girl? Now you have their attention, which is what I'm gonna bring to you, what I'm about to bring to your attention. What I'm about to bring to your attention is we don't talk to each other anymore. When we don't talk to each other anymore, we foster ignorance. And when we foster ignorance, we do what I just shared with you. We create an atmosphere for alienation. This is the deal. Music to heal the heart and soul, music to heal the heart and soul. Who are the musicians and artists that help you navigate life? I guarantee you, everybody in this audience, particularly all the people over the age of 50, 55, they will tell you that they recall listening to some song with some lyrics that reminded them that they needed to check themselves. They recall listening to some song that had the right lyrics in them that gave them the nerve to go and ask that person for a dance. You also recall those songs that told you about things that you were going through, that no one else understood but that artist could tell you about. They knew what you were going through. But we don't have our music anymore. We gave up our music for a version of stories that Nikki Giovanni and the Last Porch used to basically deliver to give us a sense of direction about the world we lived in. Even balladeers used to tell us about how to handle relationships. Isaac Hayes, Curtis Mayfield, Aretha Franklin, James Brown, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, they used to tell you stories about your life, and you find yourself rocking to the rhythm that related to your life experiences. And as you did that, you listened to the lyrics that reminded you one love. You listened to the lyrics that explained to you, why did the person shoot the sheriff? I shot the sheriff, but I didn't shoot the deputy. Redemption song, Focus. Marvin Gaye, even though Marvin Gaye is a resident of the District of Columbia and he navigated his challenges in life, but Marvin Gaye had one song that had more to do with intimacy than the average person could even relate to. He even said it. The lyrics were sexual healing. It's nothing more intimate than humans being together, exchanging a bond. I said sexual healing. I didn't say having sex, okay? I didn't say letting someone back their butt up to you and get you aroused, and rather than you asking them their name and their nickname and what they like to do and what are they planning on doing with their life, you basically trying to get the digits to figure out when can they get together with you to do something physical. And you don't even know the damn person. That's what this technology does with these particular apps. You can be in an environment, and rather than you checking the person out, looking and their vibe and see what kind of cologne they have on, or in general how they're dressed, you in your app trying to figure out who's probably using the same app you're using, and you don't even communicate anymore because the app undermines your ability to feel that person's vibe. And when you don't feel that person's vibe, you misconnected and you no longer communicate. Are you aware that there's a whole class of neurons in every human's brain called mirror neurons? Let me give you a simple example of how they work. You can go into an environment and see some people chuckling and laughing, and you don't have a damn clue what they're chuckling and laughing about. But before you know it, you'll have a chuckle, a smile, or a giggle, and you haven't got a damn clue what's going on. But your brain will resonate with their brain. You can do the same thing if you see someone that's homeless, or you see a child and the hands are cold in the wintertime. You can just feel the cold that child is feeling. That's mirror neurons. That's how connected you are. But what we do is we disconnect from the connect and start trying to analyze the person's situation rather than realizing that that person is an extension of us. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to experience that situation. So we don't listen to our music anymore. And when we don't listen to our music anymore, we lose our sense of direction. Are you aware that the most powerful instrument that you have is your voice? And you know people, they will say, I really want to speak to you, but I don't know what to say. And they will say, well, just say what you feel. And you say, well, I'm wondering how you're going to interpret it. Why don't you just say how you feel and let me interpret it? Because you've lost your ability to communicate because you wait for apps and other people to tell you how to communicate. And they don't know how to tell you to communicate. That's just like me and the brother getting together. Me and brother Senge Bay, we get together and we at Dulles Airport and we see Stevie Wonder and we don't see his guide and we say, hey, Stevie, damn, Stevie, are you in that Maybach? And Steve said, yeah, you know, I'm in and I'm waiting for my driver. And then you said, well, hey, Stevie, can you run us into Washington, D.C.? Stevie can listen to the traffic. He can listen to the music. He can feel your vibe. But Steve cannot drive you from Dulles damn airport to Washington damn D.C. because he's processing information on another level. But you are like, damn, he's in this car. Maybe it's a smart car. You're projecting all your crap onto the equation rather than saying, I mean, we know Steve has been blind ever since he either had meningitis when he was a little kid growing up or whatever happened to his eyes. But we know Stevie does not navigate life with his eyes. He navigates life with his sense of touch and his feeling and his vibe. Just like we no longer navigate life without music. We allow people to tell us things that are popular, and then we listen to their crap, and sometimes it doesn't make a damn bit of sense, but we just listen to it anyway. And while you're listening to it, guess what? Your brain is just like a giant glob of tofu. It's soft. It creates new pathways every time it's exposed to something. If you're exposed to a lot of stupidity, before you know it, you start doing stupid crap. And then you rationalize it, well, everybody is doing it. Because stupidity becomes the signature of how people navigate their lives. And so when you wonder why your kids are violent, your kids are in pain. Your kids are hurting. It doesn't make a damn bit of sense for a kid to be talking to his parent about, you think I might be able to get these sneakers because if something happened to me, I want to be buried in them. Or can I get this jersey? Because if something happened to me, I'd like to be buried in it. What kind of crap is that to say coming from a child? Rather than what kinds of things would you like to be when you grow up? You don't even say what kinds of things you like to be or what kind of careers you like to pursue. We have stupid crap that we got from Europeans. What would you like to be when you grow up? Some kids may just say, well, I like to grow up. And you can say, what would you like to be? Would you like to be this or that? And they'll say, you know, actually, I like to be an artist and I like to be an engineer and I like to have my own business and I like to design clothes. And then you say some stupid crap like, but you have to choose one. What's wrong with allowing them to explore all those avenues of creativity? But you've been programmed. And let me share with you how that works. This is fundamental neuropsychology, neuroscience. And by the way, if you didn't know it, research has confirmed over the past 25 years that the heart has a neuronal network. It's so sophisticated that it can trump what goes on inside of your brain. We call that cellular memory. People have received hearts from donors, and they received the heart of the donor, and they've begun to act just like the person that donated them the damn heart. And that person is no longer alive. They changed the music, they changed the way they dress, they even changed the way they speak. They clearly changed the kind of music that they listen to. And they just got the person's heart. They didn't get the brain because it's a neuronal network in the heart. The ancient Egyptians, they knew about that. Now, when you see on the right, it doesn't cost you anything to pay attention. That's why so much code is written in cyberspace to redirect your attention. We call that code algorithms. An algorithm is a lot like a cul-de-sac. If you're driving into a neighborhood and you go into a cul-de-sac and you've gotten into that neighborhood and you haven't measured how to turn around your vehicle, and people may have their driveways blocked off, you may not know how to get out of that cul-de-sac. So you drive around in circles until somebody concludes that you shouldn't be in that neighborhood. And now you're getting anxious because you're in that neighborhood in that cul-de-sac, because you were not paying attention to where you were. You were not paying attention to your vehicle, and you did not regulate the angle that you needed to go into the cul-de-sac so you can make a clean turnaround to leave the cul-de-sac, which means that you did not encode the information in the environment. You didn't file anything away in your memory. And because you didn't file anything away in your memory, you cannot retrieve the information you need to find your way. And as a result of you not being able to retrieve the information you need to find your way, you wait for other people to tell you how to find your way, or you engage Siri or your technology, and Siri will tell you to turn where there is no road. She'll tell you to turn where there is a body of water. She'll tell you she just lost reception while you're in deep fog. And your children will simply say, well, mommy, can you talk to me for a minute? Well, baby, I need it. Well, can you just talk in one take but a minute? Well, honey, let me do this. Rather than saying, okay, baby, what is it, honey? Okay, just sit down. Take your time, honey. I got time. I got time. But we don't do that anymore. And when we don't do that, we have not given our attention to the most priceless expression of ourselves on the planet, our children. And when you neglect your children, they will grow up confused, disconnected, lacking in interpersonal skills because you didn't teach them anything. I know people that will buy technology to monitor their children. You know, the baby's upstairs, you got a monitor upstairs. It's listening for the baby. Your grandmother could roll up in that house and say, where's the baby? You say, she's upstairs, she's sleeping. Well, how do you know she's sleeping? Well, I don't hear her saying it. Well, the baby could be wrapped up in the blanket. And grandma said, go upstairs and check on that baby. And you're like, no, I need to do this online right now. I'm just processing blah, 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 blah. I need to send this text. And the grandmother goes upstairs and says, this baby all caught up all over here in the corner. This baby about to strangle himself. And you like, the alarm didn't go off. What alarm? We have lost our way. And we want to know why our children are doing what they do. Because they don't have a compass. And not having a compass, they have no sense of direction. And humans have a gyroscope. Let me tell you how it works. If I were to put you on a carousel, a so-called merry-go-round, and spin that bad boy around really swiftly over and over again, and if I were to abruptly stop it and say, okay, get off, let's go, you're going to be so disoriented that you won't even be able to walk straight. It's just like being under the influence of an alcoholic beverage. You won't even know where you are. You can't even see straight because your vestibular system in your brain is still engaged thinking that you're spinning around. And by the time it settles to figure out where you are, a lot of things have happened around you. You could have walked into the street. I guarantee you somebody on this particular exchange have seen somebody damn near walk off the sides at Metro, damn near about to walk in front of the trains. Or you've seen them walk in front of traffic. Or you've seen them at a stoplight trying to use their cell phone or their text phone, and then they accelerate when they should be stopped. Because your mind is wrapped up in that technology. And don't think that children don't see you. And when the kids see you doing dumb crap, guess what they start concluding? I don't need to ask you. Because you don't know. And not only do you not know, you're not even going to be quiet long enough for me to explain to you what I'm trying to ask you. That's where that word comes in, encoding. Can you take the information in that you're not paying attention to? Can you make sense out of an environment that you didn't even notice when you were first introduced to the environment? Kids notice everything. This is something that I had to put in place to talk about what we need to do with our children. De-zombification. We've been zombified. You see this technology? It's got a hold of our brain. People got their little earbuds on. They don't talk to each other. They don't read anymore. They don't even know what to read. They expect to be told. You ask the average child, what's the last thing they read? They say, well, I just read my text messages. Well, I was going to read this email. What's the last book you read? Okay, if you don't know the author's name, what kind of messages were in the book? Well, you know, I mean, they give us the assignment. I went through it, but what have you read lately? And we don't read anymore. Malcolm used to tell you can go anywhere in the world by reading with your imagination. So I put this here because this actually came out of one of my books. There was a time when you used to identify each other with the thumbprint and your blood type. All right. But now we use your DNA. And not only do we use your DNA, we use your IP address. We use the address in your phone. Your phone will ping off a cell phone tower. Like I said, a few weeks ago before Thanksgiving, I was in Dubai and I had to go to London to do something too. But the point being, I remember when I got on the airline, when I got on Emirates Airline, shortly after I had been on the airline, I received a text message saying that it was now okay to use the phone. That shit did not happen on British Airways. That happened on Emirates Airline. Why am I telling you that? Now, I just got on the plane. I haven't given these people my telephone number. We're talking about technology. And I'm not knocking the technology. I'm saying to you that we don't understand, we don't understand the world that we live in. And when we lack a clear level of clarity about the world we live in, we will go anywhere the world tells us. I bet you there are at least 2 people on this platform will listen to their GPS, and then it finally occurs to them like, damn, I know another way to get there. And the GPS is telling you to go this way. It's telling you to go that way. It's even letting you know that there is a quote unquote state trooper somewhere along the freeway, a speed trap. And you don't even listen to intuitions anymore to go places. You know what that does? It overrides your pineal gland, which has a special relationship with your Bluetooth. Your Bluetooth allows you to talk to people without saying a word. We call it vibing. And so when they take your IP address and your biometrics, people in continental Africa, you go from an infant, a child, to an adult. Ain't no damn adolescent period. You go through the rites of passage because you're no longer a child. You're into puberty so you can have children. And you go through a rite of passage to learn who you are as an adult human being and expectations that go with that. But in America, how much education do you have? Where did you attend school? What's your social security number? What is your credit score? What is your zip code? But who the hell are you? There was a time when brown and black people used to talk to each other and they would say, what's your name? And the brother would say like, yo, my name is Sean, but everybody called me, they call me Slim, or they call me Glide. And he's like, they call you Slim and they call you Glide. Why they don't call you? Well, they don't call me Sean. They call me Glide and Slim because I'm kind of skinny and I just kind of float where I want to go. Black folk will rename you. And that name will represent the attributes that basically capture who you really are. You feel me? And they will do it religiously, and you will endorse that name. People will roll up on you and say, like, I don't like people to call me doctor. I prefer people to call me Mfundi, which means teacher. You feel me? Because when people find out you're a doctor, what kind of doctor are you? I'm just like you, brother. I just happen to get a little bit of that paper that these people are offering. And the reality about these titles and things like that, most, I wouldn't say most, but a substantial amount of the people that I know that are the most confused, misguided people in the world are doctors. They don't know who the hell they are. You ask them who they are. Well, I have a doctorate in blah, blah. But who the hell are you? Well, I went to, no, but who are you? And that's why this symbolism is pulled from my book about your identity. You are a melanin-dominant human. You are a carbon-based photobioelectromagnetic transducer, aerobic-type bipedal life form. That's what you are. That makes you a human. Your identity is not your conditioned identity. Your identity is who you are connected to the matrix of your people. and who you are connected to the matrix of your people, or upon whose shoulders are you standing? Do you know the names of any of your ancestors? Do you recall your ancestors when you pray? Do you actually do a libation for your ancestors? Do you tell your children about your ancestors? Do you tell people who impacted you? When I first started going to Howard University, I never forget, they asked me this simple question. They said, well, Coco, who do you admire in psychology? Name some psychology that impacted you. I'm like, now remember, I already got a master's degree now that I'm at Howard. I'm like, my daddy. Oh, your father's a psychologist? No, my daddy was an engineer. But my daddy was an engineer, and not only was he an engineer, he was a conscious person, and he understood that though he was an engineer, he happened to be a melanin-dominant engineer, and he had to do things differently than vanilla brothers and sisters. He had a sense of identity. He was telling me about levitation before I was looking at it on the Outer Limits in the Twilight Zone. And other people were saying he was a little strange and a little different. And I'm like, but they said, but he's not a psychologist. If you were a black man and you can own your own business and take care of your damn children and have a couple of damn cars and have a sense of purpose in life and know not to eat crazy food prepared by vanilla people and do all the crazy crap that vanilla people did, then you are definitely a person that has mastered psychology. And you know what they told me? They didn't understand that. They really wanted me to identify psychologists. And then later on, I had to remind them about Naim Akbar. And then later I learned from having a conversation with Naim Akbar and some more conscious people that Howard University felt that Naim was a little too pro-black for them. And if you know your story, you know Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, Howard University told her that she not only was she a little too pro-black, she was saying some things that made vanilla people uncomfortable. So when I talk to you about people being educated and well-trained, and you want to know what's wrong with our children are doing the same thing that you're doing, but they're justified in doing it. They're trying to find their way through the madness that you have put on their paths, because you thinking that just because you invited to the table, you can tell these people what to put on the menu. And not only that, you don't even know what to tell them to put on the menu, because you'll start asking them to put things on the menu that you should not even be eating. And so this graphic is telling you, if you don't have a sense of spiritual dharma, like why are you on the planet? I don't care how many letters you have behind your name. I don't care whether or not you have a 7-figure income. If you don't know who you are, then you are likely to do more harm to your community than you are to do good. And kids know that. And when they call you down on it, you need to stop saying, this kid is disrespecting me. I've been to school. I've done this. I've done that. Yeah, you went to school, but you did not liberate your mind while you were in school. You were trained to repeat what you were told in school. And that's why over 70% of all the kids that go to college, be they female or male, are trying to figure out what their gender endorsement is. They make the mistake of referring to themselves their first and second semester while they're in a university as a damn freshman. Totally oblivious to the fact that the colleges were originally designed in this country for Caucasian men. We had universities in Timbuktu. That's why all the Greeks that had any knowledge worth identifying as knowledge, they went to ancient Kemet to study. And when they stopped going to school to study there, we said they were in the Dark Ages. Is this something we have come to accept as normal? What was on the news? This blue line? We just saw a brother murdered on national television a few years ago right in front of us, had the life asphyxiated out of him for 9 minutes, 30 seconds plus. And then we had the nerve to have a trial about whether or not those policemen actually murdered the brother. You choked the life out of the man. And when the man had a seizure and a spasm and his leg elevated up in the air, you said he tried to kick you. And we had a conversation about it. A few decades ago, we beat the crap out of Rodney King. Whenever he blocked, we said that he was assaulting the policeman. And you want to know why our children doing what they're doing? If you guys only knew that in Miami or Miami, down in Miami, when you had all that gang violence and all that gang, do you realize that gangs were originally put in place to protect themselves from the police officers? Because nobody was protecting them? Did you know that? And did you know they began to fight among themselves when folk began to do a number of things to foster them fighting among themselves? I'm going to show you a slide. I'm going to have to jump straight to it to make a point. Where's my boy at? You see this brother here? New Jack City, Wesley Snipes. Some of you guys know Rayford Edmonds. Look at this red, jet black brother, a genius, but he was classified as being evil. I don't need to tell you, red is always associated with blood, always associated with aggression, even though when you look at some of the traditional African religions, it's associated with power and authority. They put my boy Chris Rock here, Pookie, in a damn jacked up American flag as if he's having hard times, but this flag is telling you why he's having hard time, but they're giving you the impression that this brother is some kind of demon or demonic. Wesley Snipes blue black in this picture. Got his gold chains on and his red, and everybody knows about New Jack City. And everybody knows about the crack epidemic. But what you don't know is when we normalize this and not ask the question why, 1 in 106 vanilla brothers and sisters incarcerated, males incarcerated, 1 in 36 Latino, Chicano brothers and sisters, 1 in every 15 black. Why? Why? People on this platform are old enough to remember when blacks in America were the so-called largest minority in America. Even though the minorities on the planet are your vanilla brothers and sisters, they make up about 9.8% of the population of the planet. But now the largest minority in this country, i.e. minority, are your Latino brothers and sisters. And why is it that when you look at the breakdown, they give you these skewed statistics? All women, 1 in 56. Look at 1 in 111 when you look at Caucasian women. Look at black women. And then when you look at the black women, the breakdown, you look at how old the data is, and you look at 1 in 18 black women, Latino women, 1 in 45. But look at Latino men, 1 in 6. Why is the statistics telling you that they are disproportionately locking up melanin-dominant men? Why? Kiswahili, Zamani, Sasa. Sasa is today's time. Right now, it's the so-called holy day season. This is Sasa. This is today's time. This is the time that you can remember that you had dinner or with members of your family for Indigenous Peoples Day or a Native American Heritage Day month, i.e. so-called Thanksgiving. This is Zamani, when you're looking at Anpu. And before the pyramids were actually built, your ancestors in that place that was called Kush, or that place that was called where the people spoke Tamil or Tamil, the Dravidian brothers and sisters, the dark-skinned brothers from Kush, India, that looked jet black and had jet black hair. And they spoke Tamil or Tamil. And they were called the Dravidians. These are your ancestors. And you don't recognize them anymore. And when you forget your ancestors, you forget your sense of identity. Latino brothers and sisters made a movie probably about 5 to 7 years ago about Coco. And that movie was about this kid that had to remember his ancestors, the guitar player. And if you forget your ancestors, then they are no longer alive in this world. You cannot talk to them. They even did it in Black Panther. All right? When you saw Charles, you saw his character go back to talk to his ancestors. You saw them morph from panthers into the spirit realm to actually being spirits that he could talk to and interact with. He had a conversation with them. Vanilla people tell you that's crazy. Right now, one of the biggest venues of research on this planet deals with parapsychological phenomena, so-called near-death experiences. And you want to know why our children are going through what they're going through, because we've forgotten them. And we've forgotten them so much that we're even afraid to have a conversation with them. So this is America. I won't even tell you what that is. But if you look at it very carefully, you have an idea of what it is. But this is the 21st century of America. The same crap is still happening. Land of the free and token opportunities. Are you for real? The lynchings. Why? Chattel slavery. Why? See these vanilla people? They think this is cute. These guys ain't even swagging, right? But look, they're out. They think it's cute. They don't know that this was a signature call for the butthole bandits in the penitentiary when the brothers would be swagging, letting the people know that they are available. They were completely ignorant to that. And these people thought it was a style. It's like, you rough, you've been in the joint. That means your behind is available. Malcolm tried to make it plain and clear to us. It's like, only a fool will let his enemy teach his children. Now these people, oh, this is a style. It's in style. Look, these guys are doing it. If you see three brothers doing this crap on the street in any major city, policemen might pull up behind them, ask them to pull up their pants. Here they may go, you know, you kids, what are you guys doing that for? Oh, it's a style. And they may just tell them to go on about their business. And you want to know why the kids are violent? This is a real AR-15, okay? Just like an old classic M16. This is a kid this is not a toy gun. This is a real weapon, all right? You see the call signature, the letters and numbers on the back of it? And this kid is playing with it. This kid can't be over 6 damn years of age. And you want to know why so much damn violence in this country? Even though it's waged on women more than you would believe. And anytime men are shooting women and beating the crap out of women, hurting them, harming them, these are not men, these are males. They're not men. This kid has one with a drum. This bad boy holds at least 50 to 100 rounds. This is an old classic M1 carbine with a banana clip. And you want to know why our kids, they see this crap online. And they're playing video games and they see it online and they're having a little trouble differentiating what they see with the video games but what happens in reality, because the way we're treating children on the planet today is a freaking sin. It doesn't make any sense for us to sit back and look at the news and look at the loss of life among children and say stupid crap like, oh my God, that's a shame. It's a real shame. What do you think kids think? They're petrified with fear. We just had another shooting a few days ago, and we're going to have another one probably before the new year. We have normalized the pathology, and we've normalized the pathology so much that I'm sitting back waiting for the droids, the smart technology. And this is a droid. This bad boy is programmed with algorithms. This term is taken from, this is not Tamil, but the Dravidian language, which basically the terms that they use to talk about the people that spoke Tamil or the people that were India Kush. This word, Abdharma Avidya, literally means one who is unable to grasp a sense of spiritual connectedness. I'm talking about your vanilla brothers and sisters. We're sitting back at this very moment, having intellectual conversations about carnage happening on your planet. And it's happening in a lot of places, not just in the one that you constantly see in the news. It's only relevant when it's happening to certain people. It's rarely relevant when it's happening to melanin dominant people. But you see this droid? Look at the quote unquote cold, metallic expression of this droid trying to phantom like, what is this creature? What kind of creature would take the lives of so many in such a short span of time on the planet? I can tell you what this droid is conceptualizing as he's running the algorithms. The algorithms are, this is a carbon-based life form. It inhales and it exhales. In inhaling and exhaling, it releases carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide can oxidize or corrode my network. If it corrodes my network, I cannot function optimally. This species should be exterminated. This species is self-checked. All you have to do is use common sense. The people are not playing with you when they're talking about climate change. They're not talking to you when they're saying you've lost over 25% of your bee colonies on the planet. You're losing your foliation on the planet because bees, they basically pollinate the plants. Your ozone is breaking up. You're having bizarre weather patterns on your planet. These people are self-checked. That's why they're into cloning, and they're into this slide that I'm about to show you. I didn't see this on the tubes this time when I went in the UK, but it used to be on the tubes, on the Piccadilly line. All right, that's the tubes, the underground. It wasn't there this time when I was on the tubes. But they're telling you the real banking crisis. And when you go into the damn British Museum, you see all the crap they stole, just like in Black Panther. You see the sculpture with the noses blown off of them. You see the Polynesian islands, long, high totem poles. This is a quote unquote miniature sperm bank. This is what the deal is. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing made it very clear. Genetic survival. Your genetic survival. You are not important anymore because of, let me show you. We don't need you to pick cotton anymore. We lock you up so much in penitentiaries that we basically import you to different states to do free work, free labor. And when you locked up and you running around advertising to butthole bandits, you're no longer a threat to make babies. And not only are you not a threat to make babies, unfortunately, you piss off Black women when you get incarcerated because they don't understand the system is designed to incarcerate you. And then when you get incarcerated, they get angry. And then when they get angry, they do things to make the male children around them feel disconnected from them. And then the kids go to school confused. Because kids go to school, I had a youngster that I was counseling about 3 years ago. And the reason why I was counseling the kid is because his parent kept telling him he kept getting in trouble. And I'm like, what do you mean he's getting in trouble? He keeps asking his friend in school, why I can't meet your mother. And the kid is like, you can't meet my mother because I have two mothers and they're both of my mother. He's like, which one is your mom's? Well, I call them both mama. And now he's in the principal's office because he's not able to fathom, like, how can you have two mothers? And the kid is confused. I'm not saying that the kid basically should be taught these things. I'm simply saying, don't blame the child for this new stuff that you're doing. And it's not that it's something that's so-called technically so-called bad. At least help the child understand these new dynamics that they cannot fathom. Rather than saying, are you calling me up to the school again? The same thing when the kid is like, how you have two daddies? And for the people that are into the community, don't get the impression I'm trying to judge you, knock you, chastise you. I'm not saying that. I'm saying for a fact, unless you get some genetic engineering, two women don't make babies. Two men don't make babies. You either got to go to a sperm bank and pick up something, get some extra equipment in vivo, in vitro. You got to get some extra stuff added to the equation. And the question becomes, why is it that it's okay for us to say this is acceptable? If you acknowledge your ancestors, people say you're doing stuff that's related to demons and wickery. I bet you before you guys have your New Year turnaround in your household, somebody's going to set a plate for one of your relatives to cross over. And they're going to either burn a cigar or burn a candle and say something as they evoke that person's spirit. And they're going to say something that they knew stood out about that person. And ain't nobody in your house going to run up and say to you, you trying to communicate with the so-called dead. They're going to say to you that your ancestors are always with you. And this is absolutely, I don't even know how to describe it. The fact that this actually became some footage that you saw online. And when a young kid sees this, kids go, that doesn't look like the way they recharge the weapons in the video games. And the kid sees this and he sees it's okay because he sees adults over here. Adults over here. So stop saying that the children are violent. The children are confused. This was one of my Jegnas. This is the brother that gave you guys the word ebonics. He's the one that gave you the bitch test, the Black Intelligence Test of Cultural Homogeneity. He developed that test to tell vanilla people that your tests are biased. They're not designed to tap into the intelligence of Black and brown people. They are designed to basically discriminate against Black and brown people. This is brother Bob Williams. This is the brother that I mentioned to you earlier that They said it was too radical to come to Howard. This is Naeem Akbar. This is Baba Wade Nobles. This is in Atlanta. No, this is in Miami. We were at a conference. And you will see, because Naeem cracked a joke on me. You see, I have the book of life around my neck. This is Aton. This is the book of life, the hallelujah symbol. That's the book of life there. That means that you stand on your ancestors. This is a Shinto shrine. This means nothing comes before you and God, goddess. And Naeem is the one that told me. He said, brother, you need to write this brain stuff down. Because Baba Wade and I don't know what you're talking about when you start talking about all this stuff about the brain. Write that stuff down. And what I decided to do was to give you a peekaboo. I'm going to take you to it. This is taken from one of the graphics in the book that talks to you about your spiritual identity. And it tells you that you are a pyramid. You are literally a pyramid. These are the 8 portals to your identity. Your energy is feminine and your energy is masculine. Feminine doesn't mean you're running around waving your hands around like you're so hot people can't talk to you. It means that you have magnetic energy and you have electric energy. And the reality is to strike that balance. And the way you do that is you acknowledge your reality, your resources, your relationships, and your rhythm. And none of that works if you don't have a sense of respect. And if you don't have a sense of your spiritual dharma, then it's absolutely ludicrous to think that you can ever have a sense of identity. Because if you don't recognize that I'm an extension of you, it doesn't matter how many letters are behind my name, because you have basically been colonized by the colonizer, and you have learned to replace human value with objects. And when you do that, you become a cold, callous person. And when you become a cold, callous person, you no longer have a sense of spiritual connectedness to your family. And when you do that, you become preoccupied with fear. So why don't I stop to see if people have comments or questions, and we can talk about it. And I can let you know that we can easily forgive a child who was afraid of the dark. But the real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. And I submit to you that my vanilla brothers, the vast majority of all Caucasian males over the age of 45 have some level of pronounced calcification of the pineal gland. And as a result of that, they are operating out a sense of an inability to recognize the spiritual connectedness that humans have with each other. And as a result, they devalue anyone or anything that does not get on board with whatever it is that they're advertising. And I submit to you, these droids, they are going to self-check these people, because they have the ability to write their own code. And as they're writing their own code, it's going to be obvious who are the most destructive life forms in the history of planet Earth. The universe is already taking care of business. Why you think they're doing this? I have to go to this slide, and I will be done. I need to stop on this one slide. This is what Dr. Wilson said. These are gametes. This is the passport to eternity. This is actually the Ankh. This is where you go into heaven and you bring down a spirit. And that's the word Dr. Yusuf Ben Jokanan used to tell people, babies are made in heaven. In ancient Kemet, I don't care what you believe in, no matter what you do in terms of intimacy. When humans are at the pinnacle, the apex of peak of pleasure and joy, they will evoke the name of their deity. It doesn't matter if they're saying Allah, Buddha, Jesus, or what, it will come out. And then when it comes out, the outcome is Ba-bi, a baby, and ba-bi, baby means the spirit has now manifest.
Hmm.
And the spirit comes from the womb of a woman. And the spirit is only anchored when it actually takes a breath for itself, inspiring, inhaling, and now breathes on its own. And that's when you hear the expression, the spirit has now manifest, the baby is here. And you usually hear this language, you have a newborn baby. And Dr. Wilson made it very clear. Why would these folk be traveling all over the countryside, collecting sperm in these little miniature cryo vats, putting this stuff in banks if they did not have a crisis?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't create this. The real banking crisis is what? We don't have enough of these babies. But we clearly have too many of the brown babies, but we don't have enough of these babies. So do you guys have comments or questions?
Oof. Excellent, brother. Excellent presentation, brother. And this is exactly what we kind of knew we were going to get from you. Brother Congo, Brother Heru, and Mama Tendai, and then we'll get to everybody else. But in that order, I know y'all have a comment or a question. So as soon as the screen is back up, Congo, unmute yourself.
Yeah.
So
Yes. What I'd like to say is that in the prison system, what they're doing is that quite a few of our youth is getting incarcerated those times when they can make babies between, I would say, 17, 18, all the way up to about 40 or 50. And that's when most people reproduce themselves in more ways than one. And the sad thing is that the women are also getting into the prison system, and I don't think we're paying enough attention to that, because they're even more important than men getting locked up. But excellent, man, excellent. I'd like to tell everybody this is Dr. Rasayon Coco is gonna we're gonna be doing it's a series of just trying to find out. This is the first of a series just trying to find out what is causing all the violence and what it's doing to us, worldwide anyway.
well,
Thanks.
well, he definitely laid out a lot of things here, and I'm going to ask Mama Tendai, who is the Minister of Education of UNIA RC2020, to comment. Mama Tendai, if you're with us, because I know I picked up a whole lot, but this is a whole lot that will aid and assist what we have to do to deprogram many minds and to reprogram many minds, but particularly information that we need to utilize uh, so we can do better with reaching our children, because it's definitely clear. But Mama Tendai.
No, Baba, you've already said it. And I'm just saying, when I was teaching in the classroom, I always began my African history. My purpose of the course was identity, to help the young people who were in the class to be able to understand who they were and to begin to understand that they were spiritual beings first, and to wrap that spirituality in African culture. And I'm just saying to the brother, I greatly appreciate you putting it together in this fashion, because we now have a means through this. We need to dissect it piece by piece, because we have to have the solutions piece by piece. There is so much that, as you have shared, that is coming at us and our people in so many different directions, and we're spinning so we haven't taken the time to say, okay, where do we start? And reality is anywhere we start is better than no place to try to deprogram and to then reprogram in terms of what we really need to be doing in order to save our people, which will save our planet. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful to you, brother, and definitely the information we will utilize.
Absolutely. And Mama Tendai, you're so on point because there's so much information that needs to be um, not necessarily dissected, but like you said, put in a context where we can make sure we can reach. But I also think that a lot of our brothers and sisters who think that they have come into consciousness need to also revisit information like this so we can best understand, because he hit so many key points in terms of the lack of communication based upon us utilizing technology to be actually our brain instead of us using
Which
our.
is
Go ahead.
which is what we have decided in RC 2020. We're calling AI ancestral intelligence, because we're saying
Exactly.
that's where we've got to go back. That's where we have to, where it starts. That's what we have to understand, and recognizing the power of our brain. If the technology didn't create itself.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you're absolutely on point, because the ancestral, and my brother shared that clearly. If you don't have a sense of where you come from, you don't know who you are. And if you don't know your ancestors or your ancestral energy, then you are subject to take on somebody else's
Well, we're programmed to take on somebody else.
Exactly. And so that's very problematic. Brother Heru, I know you have something you want to speak on in terms of the
Yes.
presentation. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I went to my library and I have a book called Genetic Programming.
Mm-hmm.
It's called The Automatic Discovery of Reusable Programs. And his book talks about the social construct to control society from a mathematical point of view and a programming point of view. So what the Europeans have done, they have gone beyond the physical enslavement process, and it's been automated across different areas of people activity, in the media, through biochemistry, through social programming, and what they're doing is almost like they're doing a social epigenetic matrix programming methodology, where they take all these variables that they've gathered and the control factors. So instead of going from having the Europeans go from place to place through the enslavement process and having them do it physically, they're using automation across different areas of people activity. So one of the things we have to do as a people, we have to use our own, like Mama Tinda said, our ancestral intelligence, where the algorithm of our culture, our spiritual systems and civic systems propagated ourselves on a civilization level as well as an individual level, the higher concept of our spiritual, social, cultural systems.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened is that when you have this is called in communication called intersymbol interference, where you send messages through, and if you have a bombardment of information coming through, if you don't let it propagate, then you start to get interference. So what they're doing is they're controlling their nervous system and our spiritual systems to divert our attention from the intelligence of our ancestors and our culture, with this constant bombardment in all forms of media, through the physical environment and the social environment as well.
So do you or Mama Tendai or Congo, either three of you all, before we go to others, do you all have any questions, for our brother, questions? I know I heard everything all of you all said, and I think it's super important. I was so moved by the presentation, but does anyone have any specific questions before we go to others that are in the Zoom. Did you have any? Go ahead.
The question I have: how do you infuse some of this modalities into our own social fabric, using what the children using, like the different social media platforms, as well as they like to do all this instant messaging on this short attention span algorithms. We have to figure out how do we infuse this information into those different media platforms so we can start to divert or redirect their attention on a mental, physical, and spiritual level.
Well, I know Mama Tendai is going to, and our education committee is going to be addressing those issues. But my brother, Brother Rasayon, you want to speak on that?
Actually, you saw me make a reference to the thing about the music,
Mm-hmm.
and you also heard me make a kind of comprehensive statement about the quote unquote white man's food, white sugar, white flour, white rice. Our kids, they honestly don't know what to eat. And part of the reason why they don't know what to eat is because oftentimes their parents may find themselves trying to navigate foods that are good for them with a particular type of budget. For example, the average brown and black person, they think that they must have meat in their meal in order to have the right amount of protein.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know that it's nothing wrong with chickpeas / garbanzos, tahini, brown rice, wild rice. They don't know about lentils. They don't know about azuki beans. They just don't know. And that's by design, because the irony of it is it's always in music and the food. I could tell you, a whole bunch of black people, if they don't have some good snacks at their party or some good music at their party, folk not gonna be there long. They definitely gotta have some decent music. Otherwise, folk gonna leave, or somebody gonna roll out and come back and bring some music. You feel me? Because music is what feeds us. Now, in terms of the actual software, the way you incentivize your children is you let them know the things that that are going to give them some focus and some education and some growth. You use that to incentivize them to get some of those other things that you may not necessarily be 100% in support of. It's almost like, well, you can have a little bit of this if you have that, but you're not able to get that unless you've engaged in a little bit of this. And if you don't engage in a little bit of this, you certainly can't have that. Matter of fact, I'll tell you something that blows my mind. I'm not going to get into the detail because it'll probably have me damn near almost borderline sad. Before my youngest daughter crossed over, it never occurred to me that she had us watching Shaka Zulu and Roots for the 10 days that she was on the planet before she passed. We looked at the series, and I was like, why does she want to see that? She was cuddled beneath my arm, looking at those particular, Shaka Zulu and looking at Roots, and we had detailed conversations about it. And even before she crossed over, the day before she crossed over, we were doing a dance because her mom was taking her to one of those European things. The day before she crossed over, we were doing a dance which was similar to a waltz, but it was called the I Turn Around dance. And I turn around dances, which means I make a circle around you. You feel me? And it never occurred to me that what was going on until my middle-aged daughter pulled up her playlist from her cell phone, which blew my damn mind because the child had been listening to this song that Jay-Z had somebody to write for Beyonce many years ago called I Was Here. And the lyrics in that song were all about I was here. And I was like, damn, this same song over and over and over and over again. You feel me? But she hung out with me, literally, and looked at things that I thought that were very conscious. And she spent that time with me. You feel me? I could tell you another story about my son. I'm actually doing some research on these kinds of phenomena now. Collecting some data that relates to neuroscience and the brain and something called the gamma frequency. So what can we do? We need to spend time with our children because, see, they ask for time. But rather than us giving them time, we say some generic crap like, well, I need to do this. I have to do this piece of work. And the kids don't ask for much time. They're asking for quality time. And if somebody asks you for time, you should give it to them.
Mhm.
Because you're not going to have another opportunity to turn around and say, damn, I wish I had done that.
Mm.
You follow me?
I hear you.
Because, like I said in Black Panther, you saw T'Challa's character. He went back and he was telling the ancestors,
Mhm.
like, I don't think you should have left him. Because some people think that when you cross over, you cross over. That's why they call it crossing over.
Mhm.
Because you have an opportunity to assess, are you leaving? Have your ancestors told you need to come? And are you in agreement to leaving? And that's one of the reasons why when people abruptly leave, you have what you refer to as a ghost or a poltergeist, because they were not intending to leave, and oftentimes they don't even know they left.
Mm.
And that's why your ancestors will do rituals for them to help them in the crossing. And everybody knows about the 40-day rituals. The Tibetans might use 49, and they don't know that the 7 times 7 is the 49 cycles for the chakras to go up and down the body for you to give up the physical body. They don't know that. And the reason why they don't know that is just like when I was in the UK, I was thinking like, it ain't a damn thing in London except the stuff that these people stole. And the whole while I was in London, I was kind of wishing I was back in Dubai. You
Mhm.
feel me? But my point is, when we don't know who we are, I guarantee if you were to interview 100 Black people, you may find less than 25 that have a passport.
That's
You feel
a
me?
good point. That's a good point.
Because we don't go anywhere. We don't even go to the Smithsonians that are free. And our
Mhm.
Smithsonian museums that we have in New York and Washington, D.C., can trump the London Museum. Now, going to the Vatican and Berlin Museum, different story, because they stole a whole bunch of crap that's there. But we don't go anywhere. We don't take our children anywhere. There's no reason why parents that are gainfully employed don't say, honey, we're going to get the train. We're going to go down to the Smithsonian over the holidays.
Mhm.
We're going to go visit these museums. We're going to have a conversation about what's in these museums.
Mm. You touched on some really key points, and it brought back a lot of memories for me because, and you said that earlier about, stories, but we know America eats its young. We know it's designed to eat its young, eat all of the young actually, but definitely eat Africans. But travel to learn, just basic programs that where we can spend more time with children. And Mama Tendai, I'm gonna come back to you, and Baba Rasafiq, if you want to chime in, please chime in. But just basic stuff like a Be Clean campaign, which is something that the Black Star Action Network International, which is a global group of Garveyites, is striving to do, to teach people how to be clean. Of course, health and wellness comes into that, my brother. And the travel to learn piece is really critical because we had a group back in the 70s and 80s called Safety Incorporated, Stop America from Eating the Young, and we did travel to learn programs right here in DC. And like you said, that was then. So you can imagine what it's like now, that children just don't travel to learn. They don't move from even southeast to northwest. But that's on us to do. That's on us to make sure that we travel. Now there are some things, programs out there. Like my wife has a program that, along with others, where we're working to teach young girls and take them away. And we see some of these things that you're saying, because once you take away their cell phones and their iPads and you get into communication, there's a whole brand new day. And it took us like over 2 weeks to get them, to start seeing the importance of communication, friendship, et cetera, making products, doing things. And they miss that now. But coming into it the first 2 days, it was hard to, some of them tried to hide their phones. But anyway, my point is, we need to come up with basic ways and means where we can reach our children and people who teach children. So Mama Tendai, I know you may have some comments on that because you speak about that all the time. And Rasafiq, if you have any questions, because we have quite a little bit more time, and I want to make sure everybody has opportunity to ask questions that they may have. But as Congo said earlier, and as I'm going to say again, and as my brother Ray Sean, we family. And what he's dropping here is science. You can't drop this in some of these European institutions and some of these so-called Black universities, but you certainly can drop it with the UNIA, because what we're going to do, not only did we record this, this is a whole how should I put it, classes, man, because you got to study. You got to revisit this, because I saw so many things in there, but we all are constantly learning, because we all have been programmed. And Mama Tendai, I'm sure you heard what I was saying in terms of basic programs and what we're working with education, so that my brother knows. What we're striving to do, my brother, is to create a ways and means to provide the kind of information to brothers and sisters who have accessibility to children, who have more consciousness about it and understand some of the things that we just talked about, and are trying to reverse that. So, Mama Tendai, did you have anything you want to add to that? And Rasafiq, if you want to chime in, because like I said, we got 15 or so more minutes, and I want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to ask any questions. Primarily, I know people got comments, but questions while we have our brother. And we really appreciate you taking time out, brother, because this is very important, because if we don't address these issues, it's just not going to happen. You know, brothers and sisters who are conscious, and you mentioned some really key people who are in the ancestral realm, and keep some that's still with us, that a lot of our brothers and sisters need to study, and we're clear on that. Mama Tendai?
Yes, I'm just saying it's not just about, we limit the concept of Pan-Africanism to basically location and so on and so forth, rather than its expansiveness, which includes, in my mind at least, the beginning of it is spirituality. And I just want to thank you, brother, for sharing these things, because and allowing us to be able to have access to this PowerPoint that you put together, because the symbolism that you have presented in the various slides, I'm gonna ask our group to go back and take a look, because there's so much to be learned in those things. I put in the chat about our children, raising children, which was your very first slide. And for years, even when I was in the 90s, when I first started working at Coppin at the time, I was observing that and saying, we need to prepare for what that is going to cause, what that is going to mean to our community over time. And I've said to folks many times that you think about it, what can an 11-year-old teach a child? But we have mothers at 11, grandmothers at 22, and great-grandmothers at 33, and then we want to blame them for what they have not, what they do not know, what they have not been taught, what we have not done in terms of embracing them and dealing with our own cultural perspective, which would have been to take those children under our wing and raise them as a community. So I'm grateful to you. And there's just so much in terms of what you also have presented that for me, you know, I have to take my time and go back and decipher much of it, because there's so many lessons in each one of the slides that we can use in terms of connecting with folk. And I'm grateful and I thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm absolutely honored. If I may say something, if it's okay, it's okay.
Of course, of course.
I wanted to say to you that as you see this, these colors here in the chakra grid on this particular version of the human anatomy here, you would notice that this particular symbolism here represents the calcification of the pineal gland. You'll see a reference to fluoride. Now, I want to bring up the pineal gland for two reasons, because it's the reason why I always refer to the pineal gland as your Bluetooth. Brother Bayou, you know, and sister, she knows, we grew up in an era when we could stack 45 records or 33 of the thirds on top of each other. They could fall on top of each other. And there would be the playlist, and then they would play. Occasionally, one might get stuck or whatever, right? But now you have a playlist. I can send you my playlist from my phone, unless you're playing with our iPhone technology. You got to airdrop they crap, because they try to control everything, right? But Android phones, I can Bluetooth you my photo album. I can Bluetooth you my playlist. Your brain can do the same thing. It's the reason why you can see 300 birds in flight, and they're flying and the wind is blowing, and they are less than 5 centimeters apart, and they don't bump into each other. They turn at the exact same time. They rise and dive at the same time. It's something called lodestone. That's their Bluetooth in their brain. Humans are the same way. But because we drink fluoridated water,
eat foods that degrade the ability of our pineal glands to function, wear synthetic clothing, overly saturate our bodies with sugar, which is toxic as I don't know what. You feel me? And then we try to escape reality by thinking that we're enhancing ourselves with some of the natural herbs that Jah has given us. And we mute our ability to communicate without saying a word. And when we do that, we turn off that Bluetooth. And when the Bluetooth is turned off, it creates confusion. Because you could turn your Bluetooth on your phone and go in someone's home and start playing your music, and it will kick into their Bluetooth and play your music on their Bluetooth speaker. They automatically connect. And that's how we automatically connect. But because we're eating these people's foods, we're listening to their music, then we're creating this scatter confusion. And kids are always online. I don't mean online, literally online. I mean, their brains are always open. Follow me? They hear stuff that we didn't think they heard.
Yes.
And they tell us what they heard. And you go, you heard that? And they said, not only did I hear it, I heard the context and how you said it. And you said that was a grown folks conversation. You would say, well, if it was a grown folks conversation, then it should have just been between grown people. You shouldn't have been talking about it while I was around. Shut your mouth. You have a smart mouth. The wisdom comes from the babies.
Yes.
Because the babies are tuned in. And if we don't recognize that, then we need to stop sitting back talking about what's wrong with our children. We need to say, what do we need to do better? What do we need to do differently? How do we need to let them know that they are valued?
Yes.
Because our kids are afraid.
And have a right to be here, Baba. They are valued and have a right to be here.
It's inconceivable for anybody on this platform to think that we were really worried about going to school, that somebody was going to bring a gun to school and shoot everybody up.
Right.
We might have been worried about somebody having a fight after school or bullying us or stealing our lunch or our Converse sneakers, but we weren't worried about somebody coming to the damn school, shooting up every damn body and the teacher.
That's right.
As American pie. And then you want to know why the kids are afraid? They don't, because you're not protecting them.
Yes.
You feel me? And when they look at the news and see this carnage of these children dying all over the world, and every now and then they sprinkle in a story about what happened to some of our kids in continental Africa and India, they're like, nobody cares about us.
Yes.
That's right.
And if you don't care about us, why should I have a conversation with you? And what's wrong with me jacking you in your car? I just want to go for a ride in the first place and listen to some loud music to escape this
because I might not be here tomorrow, and long term for me is a week.
And taking a risk is fun. It's just like young people. I don't want to get into something crazy, but it's just like a lot of people that were engaged in their carnal intimacies, and they said that I don't want to use any barriers.
Right.
And then you hear stupid stuff like, well, you got to die from something.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? And then they say, well, at least I want to feel good. And the reason why you want to feel good is because your body naturally produces a class of drugs called endorphins. They make you laugh for no damn reason. You can laugh so intensely that you will be aching. You can laugh so intensely that you will damn near have a drop of urine, because your body is releasing drugs to make you feel good. And nobody wants to feel bad. Nobody wants to be in pain. And trust me, kids have an incredibly high level of excitation that's natural for them. Like, have you ever seen puppies playing? Puppies do some crazy crap. You wonder why they're doing it. And you see kids running around just doing stuff, spinning in circles till they get dizzy. You do that crap as an old person, you got a headache, you feel nauseated.
Right.
Kids are exploring the beauty and embracing life.
Yes.
And if we don't learn how to instill in them that there's a lot of life to live, they're going to be in a hurry to have these peekaboo moments of joy and sensationalism.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. We have, let me see, I just want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity. I think Rasafiq, are you with us? Oh, anyway, he's probably just listening. Okay, that's fine. Anybody else got anything else they want to share, or any questions? Brother Heru?
No, not really. What was interesting, I was in Delaware with my grandnieces and nephews. So what was interesting, they all tell me in the park, they have emergency devices where you can press, and if they feel threatened, they will send a call to the police station for them to come to investigate who's about ready to hurt them.
What? Woo.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yes, I saw that being
Huh?
put into one of the parks in Philadelphia.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm right here, Baba.
Okay, Rasafiq, you know,
Man.
we only have a few more minutes, but
And
we,
Mama Teresa.
oh yeah,
Chime
Mama
in,
Teresa.
yeah.
So-
Appreciate your presentation, Baba, Dr. Rashawn. Yeah, we always enjoy your lectures and your information that you bring. And of course, you've touched on a number of subjects that impact our children and things that they are influenced by, you know. So I think it's important that we look at the total picture and understand what they've been exposed to and how they can learn from us as the elders, what we bring to the table. We have to certainly give them a base, a foundation of spirituality, African spirituality, so that they can understand what it is that they need to build upon. We started in our independent African schools by introducing them to the basic concepts of African spirituality, just traditional African religion. And I think we've touched upon that tonight. It's important that that we give them this information in a manner in which they can understand it. And it's not too esoteric. It's not above their heads. It's not something that they can't digest. We are in an era now where they need to be exposed to things that are going to give them food for thought. We have to start with, of course, the health. They have to be given the information about how they can keep their bodies healthy, how they can develop their minds, how they can expand their consciousness, and become more in tune with the cosmic forces of the universe. I think Brother Rashawn has presented that to us. He's written a number of books and given quite a few lectures over the years pertaining to how that can be done.
Okay.
And so I appreciate the information that he's brought to us tonight. I think certainly it's a very important, crucial to our overall development, and how we can pass this on as we begin to move toward higher realms of thought and make this information available to our entire community. We understand the importance of music. We understand the message that Brother John Coltrane brought to us.
Yeah,
How
love
he expanded our boundaries and made us more aware of ourselves. So in the interest of time, I'll just say that and say Asante Sana Baba for what you brought to us tonight.
Yeah, well, I want everyone to be clear that's listening that this is not just something that we're just presenting. We are definitely in motion to do just those things, Rasafiq. So I really appreciate you being here with us. Sister Teresa. Teresa?
Yeah, she was with us. Let's see.
She's not with us now. I don't see her now. But that's okay.
Yeah, she's not with us right now. You're right.
Mama Tendai, thank you for mentioning that. So what I want to do right now is, in wrapping us up, if it's anybody that has anything they want to share, I want to give my brother opportunity to make some closing remarks, and I want to thank him again. But again, I want to reiterate, we don't do Freedom Friday just for sake of programs. All of this stuff is documented, and there are processes and ways and means of making this applicable to others and to break it down, like Mama Tendai said. And, you know, even though the Whitson Banneker Jackson Bay Division 330 is in DC and is dealing with that, we are all in Africa, in the UK, in the Caribbean, and even in parts of South America and in Canada. We are growing. UNIA-ACL is growing, and we are working to build educational ties to others doing educational work under the leadership of our educational committee. And what we have as the Garvey Honor Society, we have over 35 people that have been trained in Garveyism, which Garvey trained to us, that are in that society. So we are definitely going to be moving forward. My brother has made himself available to us and we have many others that also have a lot of information. But if we don't, as Pan-Africanists, deal with this, then we are to blame. We're spiritual beings having a physical experience, and we don't want to go into the ancestral realm without completing our cosmic journey here. And that's for real. On the 16th of this month, we're doing a pre-Kwanzaa program where we're going to be honoring the 12 ancestors who contributed a lot of work, some from the DC area, Chicago, and Philadelphia. So that's an announcement I'm making. And then also on the 17th, I would encourage everybody to go to eLife. There's going to be an event there that Brother Haru Forai Atta is going to be there presenting, that's going to blow all of people's minds of the research and what he's been doing to cure every aspect of cancer. And I'll say that again. Every aspect of cancer can be cured if you know how to get to the root cause of what creates that. And it goes right back to what my brother was talking about diet, what you eat, what you put in your body, how you keep your immune system strong, etc. But he's broke it down, and he's gonna be there at eLife, and it's gonna be powerful. And if you get in touch with me, I can make it available to people outside of the DMV where they can see the stream. But it's gonna be powerful. Also, we're doing Kwanzaa on the 30th. It's going to be in dealing with the issue of the cemetery, Moses Cemetery, and we're going to be at the church over in Maryland. And I'm not going to go in too much more into that, but we are definitely building to connect more with our ancestors and not to forget them, because too often we call their names, but we don't emulate their work. And that's so important, because we would not be a UNIA today if it were not for our ancestors. And even before that, those who created the UNIA had ancestors, and it goes all the way back. So there's more ancestors than us. And if we don't study our ancestors, we're not studying ourselves, and we really don't know who we are. Haru, you had something you wanted to say? Hey, Ru, was that you?
No, that wasn't me. No.
Oh, okay.
Well, let me say, man, in terms of Kwanzaa, we are the DC Kwanzaa Planning Committee. Of course, every year we develop the Kwanzaa calendar and resource guide, and it's going to be available starting tomorrow. We just got it off the press from Black Classic Press today, and we'll have them down at Busy Bees annual holiday fair at Shiloh Baptist Church. And so look out for that. We've got a whole program, a whole week of Kwanzaa activities, starting with Umoja, of course, right on through to Imani. And
Okay.
that's in keeping with what you were saying about
Thank
your
you.
program.
Appreciate it, Rasafiq. And calendar will also be available online as well, right?
It
That's
is
right.
available. I got it today because I'm on the committee, and I'll be sending it out to you all.
All right, very good. Okay, so we want to move forward. I want to Congo. Congo, before I ask you to close us out, I want to go back to our special guest, but like I say, he's family, and my brother definitely laid it on us, and we really appreciate that, because it's not just about us here. It's being aired on Facebook, so people are checking that out on various different Facebook pages. But we will definitely make sure the YouTube is available so it can be shared with everyone, because I think we really want to share this information. Not only do we do Freedom Friday twice a month, this is always free, because we understand we got so much work to do, and we have to push that on. So, brother Congo, I'm gonna before I ask you to close us out, I want to go back to my brother Rasayon. You wanna give us any closing remarks, my brother? Anything you want to leave us with? Oh, and how we can get your books if necessary, because I'm still swelled up, brother, over here in this one, man. I mean, I'm loving it, bro. I'm loving it, man. It's opening up my third eye more and more and more.
Well, Baba, I'm honored about that. When we touch base again, I'll tell the brother, like, they're on the website, they can get that book. And you know what I found, just to be frank about it, I found that some people were pushing my book, implying that it was coming from me, but it's not coming from me, right? And
Wow.
if you're not getting it from my website, you're not really getting that version of the book. One of my colleagues told me that somebody's selling your book, and you got clearly the original, the real thing. You feel what I'm saying? And I mentioned that to you to say words that I would like to leave you guys with is, I always tell people I'm just a drop of water. You feel me? I don't own the water. I'm just a drop of water, and I'm connected to the same ocean that allows you to be who you are. And water is always recycled. It can be solid, liquid, or gas. You can never get rid of it. It just changes forms. And I always feel privileged that the ancestors allow me to do what I do, because we're in a real challenging situation, because a lot of the educated people that I know, they are so well trained that they are inclined to speak to an audience that disconnects them from the community that they are charged to serve. You feel me? So I'm always rocking the boat in that manner because that's my job. And I feel privileged when you guys ask me to bring my 2 cents worth to the equation. And it's just a real joy to be that drop of water that's connected to the ocean that we all belong to. And I
Baba,
feel
please put your website
I'm
in
getting ready
the
to,
chat.
I'm getting ready to recite it. I'm gonna cite it for those just listening, and we'll put it in the chat too. But it's www.eyesofmahat.com. That's EYESOFMAAT.com. Again, eyesofmahat.com. And we can put that in the chat too. So there's, for the record, it's in the chat. And I'll do that right now. And I want to go to Brother Congo now to close us out. Congo, in the absence of Baba Mosi, giving you the opportunity to close us out. And Baba Mosi sends his regards. He's in Dubai. You want to close us out, Congo? Oh, Congo? He might have stepped away, but anyway, I guess I have to do that because we're at that hour. If nobody else has anything else, well, Mama Tendai, I'm gonna ask you to close us out, Mama Tendai.
And as we always do, we ask you to raise your right hand. And we say, one God.
One God.
Repeat after me. One aim.
One aim.
One destiny.
One destiny.
One destiny.
Race first.
Sana, race first, everybody. Stay strong and let's keep rolling. We're gonna keep things rolling. Congo is gonna keep us informed when we're gonna bring you back, my brother, because we gotta have you back because there's so many different things that areas that you can cover. And we welcome you into the University of Freedom Friday.
My pleasure, Baba. I'm honored to be here. Hotep.
Ashe, ashe, ashe.
Sure. So, Brother Heru, you can take us away.